Hi everybody, this is Mark. I'm also known as G Pounder on IRV2, and I'm doing this video to demonstrate how I installed a residential refrigerator in my 2007 Country Coach Tribute, and show you a few different things that I had to consider in that process. A lot of you guys will have very similar situations, so I'll get on with it. First of all, I did buy a GE instead of the Samsung 18. This is a 17.5 cubic inch refrigerator freezer. In this case, I bought the icemaker version. Has a top freezer and the bottom refrigerator. There's just some extra trays left over from my old system. Just throw them in there for the fun of it right now. But it is very spacious, especially compared to the other one. Not nearly as big as my 22.5 cubic foot one in my house, but this will do. And this has, instead of the French doors, it's just single doors. So just showing you what it looks like. One comment would be that it is tall. So here you go. The Norcold 4-door unit was in this spot. I'm not going to get into the measurements a lot because I don't know them off the top of my head. I'm going to just show you some of the things that I had to deal with. Getting it in here was somewhat difficult. It required 2 people, but I had good space. One of the things I have about this refrigerator is a good amount of space on each side. So I have a good almost 2.5 inches here on the side. You're looking through. I have the opening in the back of the refrigerator. It's hard to see because the light changes. My particular coach has 2 drawers underneath the refrigerator, and then behind the drawers is some heating equipment, some plumbing, and some electrical. So in my case, I wasn't interested in removing the drawers and lowering the base of the refrigerator. So since I'm down here on my hands and knees, let me show you how I mounted the front panel. Basically, I went to the True Value hardware store and bought powder-coated angle brackets. I did my own holes, drilled in here, and you can see 2 very large 1/4 inch screw heads. These are wood screw or lag screw type, and I screwed them into the framework of the refrigerator, of course making sure that I wasn't screwing to something else. There is a black finish trim on the bottom of the refrigerator, so you're not being able to see underneath it. So that's that wood piece underneath. Now, part of the trick with mounting the bottom, and there's two sets of mounts here, is that on the base, underneath the drawer, if I put my hand up here, I can feel bolts that go all the way through. So it is bolted, not just wood screws attached underneath to the base. So it's extremely strong, extremely secure on the front side here. So that was important, obviously. Going back up to the top corner here was a challenge because this wood piece right here had to be solid. If it wasn't solid, there's no sense in bolting to it. So I created these double brackets. Give you a good look here. Again, these 2 are wood screws going into the wood, solid wood part. These 2 are self-tapping self-drilling screws. And then the ones up on top connect 2 brackets together. And the art in this process is you have to mount the wood, and you have to mount the refrigerator first, because otherwise you can't get wrenches in here to do stuff very easily. And you could get wrenches on the top and bottom screws very easily. So there's a good look of that. and that covers my top. The right corner, no mounting. Unfortunately, this material back here was a paneling facade. There was no strong point to do anything on that. And I decided not to do anything up on the very top of the refrigerator. I could have done that, but I decided not to. So I got one of the two high points done. By the way, you can see the trim that I added here. This is like a 3/8 inch, almost like paneling wood here. I trimmed all the way around the refrigerator. I painted it black, used black screws. It came out really nice looking with the refrigerator already having a black edge. This is the refrigerator black edge. Trim is removed on this side right now, so you can see through and see my mounting. Okay, so I'm going to pause here for a second. All right, continuing, now you're looking at my circuit breaker box. So part of the art of installing a residential refrigerator is getting power to it all the time while you're either on battery, running the generator, or on shore power. So if you know some of the electrical stuff in these rigs, you'll know that the circuit breaker panel is actually split. In this case, the left panel covers my inverter, my water heater. It used to cover my refrigerator, washer, dryer, and the two air conditioners. On the right side is the sub panel that does the microwave, audio, video, outlets around, and I actually moved the refrigerator over here. So the trick is the sub panel here will run on the inverter. The other panel, which is high current stuff, will not run on the inverter. It'll only run on the generator or when you plugged in. The refrigerator was on the left side over here, so I had to move it to the right side. And in my particular coach, this panel, this breaker here, happened to have been empty, which was a real bonus. So in my case, all I did is pull this off, expose the breakers like you have at your home, pull the breaker out, take one of these breakers out to the hardware store, match it up, and I bought a 20 amp breaker. So put the breaker in. Then the old refrigerator wire was over here. I disconnected the wire. I had to put in a little short extension, and I moved the wire over to the refrigerator. The other trick was, that was the black wire. Don't forget to move the white wire. The white wire has a bus bar here behind the panel, and there's another bus bar here over here. This bus bar goes here, this bus bar goes there. You need to remember to move the white wire off your refrigerator to the other bus bar, otherwise it won't work. In fact, you can get 220 volts out of that plug if you do it wrong. So for me, it was real easy. Now, if you don't have the extra breaker spot, what you do is you go to the hardware store and you buy one of these double breakers. Okay, so you have the same width, space, and the connection behind the panel, but you actually have two switches and two sets of screws. So you just say you had a 20 amp breaker here on the end, or you could really put it anywhere within the four spots here. You had a 20 amp breaker, go out and buy a dual 20, and it'll look like this, and it works. Very easy, piece of cake. Okay, I'm outside. You'll probably recognize the door thing here on the outside of the coach. I took the cover off. So this is the normal access location for your refrigerator mechanisms. The 110 volt plug that I rewired is right up here. It's plugged into the refrigerator, you can see. I happen to have another 110 volt plug for regular outlets that's not being connected at all. Got some solar power wires that run through the cabinet from the roof, etc. But what I wanted to show you was the other mounting bracket that is right here. So here's the other mounting bracket. I was able to go through the frame, use some bolt through, and then on the bottom on the wood, I use short lag bolts since I couldn't get to the bottom of it. So made a really secure connection that way. Please notice, and see if I can get this inside here. On looking up, not sure if you'll see this or not, but there's about 3 inches of space between the refrigerator and the back wall, 4 inches of space. There's also a couple inches of space on each side, and space on and around the refrigerator is required for most units. Now note there is a fan back here that keeps the, it has to do with the refrigeration unit, etc. But it needs to breathe, so that's really important. So I'm back inside, and the finishing touch with the refrigerator was a concern I had that the doors might open while the coach is moving. And there are a couple other mechanisms that people have sold to try to hook the doors, Velcro, bungee cords, you name it. I found this device online. I really like it. It actually screws into the existing screws on the refrigerator, and it's this bar right here. It's very thin. It's only about 3/8 inch wide. I get a better picture of it here. So here's the trick. It sits in between the space of the two doors. It sticks out just a little bit. And it comes with this little plastic keeper that has a magnet on it, so you can store it on the refrigerator if you wanted to. And it just drops in here and it locks your refrigerator. You can't open the door without removing it. It has a little button to it, and you pick it straight up, and you can stow it. So it's black. It goes with the refrigerator. It looks pretty cool. It's out of the way. I'm not making any further modifications to anything. It can certainly come off at a moment's notice. So that's my residential refrigerator project. The only thing to note is that since the cabinets are below the refrigerator, it is pretty high. So my eyeballs are right at the bottom of the refrigerator, and I'm 5'11". So reaching up into the freezer might be a little more challenging for especially somebody who's pretty short. My wife has a little step stool she uses when she wants to get up into some things. So that's it. Here's that molding that I had taken off. Just give you a little better idea what it looks like. Just a thin piece of wood. I painted it about 3 times, sanding in between, so it has a nice firm look to it. And it does a nice job, very nice job of sitting in here and matching up with everything else. So there you go, a residential refrigerator install, and good luck with your project.